Hello and welcome to this, our final episode in this season of the Language Fuel podcast. We're heading now towards the end of 2018 and this will be our final episode. We're going to have a little break over what's our New Zealand summer, Christmas and New Year period, and then we'll be back again in February. I just wanted to say a massive season's greetings to all of you, wherever you're listening from, whether you're in the Northern Hemisphere and having lots of cold winters, or whether you're here in the Southern Hemisphere where it's lovely and warm. We're getting these hot summer afternoons lately, which is just wonderful. Or you could be in the tropics. Maybe you're there somewhere sweating it out, whatever season it is. But it is Christmas time, so season's greetings to you, and I hope that the beginning of 2019 starts wonderfully for you. As this is our final podcast for the year, I thought we would just do a little bit of looking back this year and looking forward to next year in terms of what's been happening with us here at Language Fuel and what may be of interest to you as our listeners in terms of how we can serve you. Now, our podcast has been a little bit erratic this year. I'm first to admit that. Our publications have been started out probably every couple of weeks and then it's just dropped off a little bit, possibly because we've been quite busy on other projects, although there's always an excuse, right? But we've done heaps of stuff this year as a team. I personally have attended 2 big conferences this year. Went to TESOL in March in Chicago. That was great to connect with what's kind of going on in the field, the English language teaching field, in the kind of international sense, and meet some new people. That was really neat. And of course, in October here in New Zealand, we had CLESOL, which is our Community Languages and ESOL conference every 2 years. So this was one of those second years, if you like, and that was fabulous also, just to reconnect with a lot of colleagues here in New Zealand in the industry that are scattered around the country. We also got our Language Fuel 2.0, I guess I'd like to call it, our training courses published. So if you've been listening for a while, you know we used to have the Language Fuel Academy, and that used to be at languagefuelacademy.com. We have since changed all of that. So this year we took a few months in the middle of the year, and this was after, listening to our customer feedback. So there'll be some of you who gave us a little bit of feedback on those initial courses. So we did a massive restructure and we relaunched it as Language Fuel Training Library. So it's got a slightly different name. And what did we do to it? So we first of all changed our hosting platform. There was a few different features that our current one has that the previous one didn't have that you requested. So we changed the platform completely. We also changed our course development software. So although some of it looks similar if you're doing the course as a learner, the way that it's put together and the software that we've used is different. So we're now using the industry-leading software for e-learning. We also broke down all of our courses into mini courses. So we had some feedback that the original ones, which were sometimes maybe a couple of hours long, were a bit too long. So we decided, okay, people said they want 20 minutes. So we thought we would just break down those 2-hour courses into small chunks. So now you can hop online, complete a mini course, a little chunk in maybe 20 minutes, get that sense of completion, you've learned something, and then carry on with your day and come back another time to do the next piece. So now most of our courses are part of a series that are on a similar topic, so you can do several in the same series there. And of course we've continued to add more courses. Just recently we added some courses on intercultural awareness. This is, I think, something that Leslie Foster had been working on with a colleague of hers, Dr. Cheryl Siltzer, but she's got the middle name of Takagi. Apologies, Cheryl, if you're listening to this, that I may have mangled your name there. Anyway, Leslie and Cheryl had been working on a series of actually seminars and live seminars that they've been delivering around the country, and we worked together to put that into an online format so that our customers could appreciate that. So there's 3 in that series. The first one introduces the learner to the model that Cheryl has developed based on some research in terms of how do cultures differ from one another, and how do we understand those differences? Why are they different, and what is it about it that's different? So there's a really cute model with sort of 4 quadrants that helps you really understand the kind of 4 categories of cultures. And then it goes on in a lot more detail. So the second course in that series is about how culture is formed in our childhood. So our experiences as we're growing up, whether that's parental influence, our housing, leadership skills and that sort of thing, how that has helped us become sort of or formulate the culture that we live in today. And then the third course in that series is about a whole lot of different everyday topics that, how these culture differences are experienced in day-to-day life, whether it's giving gifts or eating food or communication or whatever the topic might be. So it's very insightful. It's one of the courses that kind of took me by surprise at how little I actually knew, even though I've been working in the language teaching industry for a long time and certainly have lived cross-culturally myself in different countries. So one assumes one has a kind of understanding of how cultures can be different from one another. But this was crystal clear from me when I was working with them to build the course. It was wonderful to have such clarity on the way that these things are different. And there's no right or wrong, right? We're not trying to say any one culture is better than the other. They're just put together differently. They have different influences and different reasons for doing things. But, the course answered a whole lot of fantastic questions that I've heard a lot from teachers. Why do people, thinking your students, say yes when actually they mean no? Why do they do that? Why can't they just give us a straight answer and tell us the truth? Or why do some students find it difficult to speak up in class and give an opinion when we're asking them questions? So, wonderful things like that. It brings a lot of clarity. So if you haven't yet had a chance to look at those courses, I highly recommend them. You may have heard me say before, for our Language Field Library, we give a 2-week free trial period. So you can sign up to get access to the training library. The first 2 weeks are completely free. If you stop at any time during those 2 weeks, no questions asked. Those days are on us, whatever time you've spent on there. Hopefully, obviously, you'd love it and want to continue to be a member so you can have access to all of the courses in an ongoing fashion. But so those are some of the things we did this year. The other thing we did was we separated out. We have had 2 types of courses in the past, and when we were Language Field Academy, we had them all kind of mixed up together, and we decided we wanted to separate them out. So we've actually got one whole training library for English language teachers, and that's a dedicated site. You can find that at ELT.training.languagefield.com. And then the other course library that we have is for self-directed language learners. Now, this is not English learners. We haven't developed English courses. That's not what we've done. It's for English speakers, adults, who are going overseas, typically, for example, in an NGO capacity, something like that, working in another country, and they want to know how to go about learning the language. Obviously, there may be resources that they can use, such as attending a local language school, or perhaps getting a textbook on that language, or certainly, obviously, buying dictionaries and so on. But there's a whole lot more you can do than just sitting in the classroom and learning a language. So all those courses are focused on how do you go about having a systematic way of practicing the language, a systematic way of figuring out which language you need to learn next, and how do you understand what it is that you're being exposed to. And obviously the culture courses are in that side as well, understanding the differences in culture where you're suddenly living in this community that has totally different rules about things. How do you figure that out? How do you understand their motivation? So that's what those courses are about. They're typically adult learners who are needing to be self-directed in their language learning, who need a bit of help. So that's that whole side so we separated them out. We have 2 separate training libraries, one for English language teachers, which will more and more focus on the specifics of English teaching, and then the other one for self-directed adult language learners with no specific, we're not specifying what language it is. It's just coaching and mentoring on how to go about learning whatever target language you have. So we've separated those out, and we're developing them separately going forward, and obviously marketing them separately as well. And that's been good too, because we've had a lot more targeted information for both sides there. So that's been great. So, we've been doing a whole lot of stuff developing those online training courses, training libraries. But of course, we do other things at Language Fuel. We don't just have these online training libraries. So one of the biggest parts of our business actually is our sale of resources. So here in New Zealand, we're selling, books, textbooks, dictionaries, posters, DVDs, whatever related to language learning. And that is English as an ESOL, but also other languages, French, Spanish, German, Mandarin, Japanese. So that has continued and has grown a little bit this year, which is wonderful. And we really appreciate, being able to support the work that language teachers around the country are doing. Whatever language they're teaching, we'll do our best to find some great resources to make their lives a little bit easier, because we're very much wanting to support the learning of languages here in New Zealand. And the other part of our business, which you may not be aware of because it's not actually advertised anywhere, we don't have anything on our website about it, is we've done a lot of materials development. And this has literally just been word of mouth. So my previous connections or people we've met or resource room customers that we know well who've ended up talking to us about things. And so we've ended up developing quite a lot of materials in the English language space, not for other languages, but it's been assessments. For example, we've done some at quite low levels, so perhaps elementary level learners. We've developed assessments for higher level learners. We're about to do a set of assessments for the highest level that New Zealand qualification can give, prior to university entrance, that kind of really academic level. So and all different skills, reading assessments, speaking, listening, writing. And that's been really fun. It's a kind of a creative thing that we've been doing with the whole team. We get the content written with the proper, pedagogical stuff all included, making sure that the level's correct, that the types of vocabulary we have fit in at the right level that's required, at the right length that's required. So that's all kind of curated, that text design. Then we get graphic design done by the wonderful Sophie. She sort of puts that all together, and then the assessments are written and it's all kind of laid out. So if that's something that you're interested in getting help with, get in touch, because we do enjoy working on those kinds of projects as well. So, we've been super busy this year. It's been great. The podcast has taken a little bit of a backseat amongst all of that. It's not to say we don't enjoy making these podcasts either, because we certainly do. I do, for sure. All right, looking forward to 2019, which is the kind of exciting part of what I was hoping to tell you about. We've just hired somebody, a very experienced person, who's going to act in the capacity of content editor for our online ELT courses, so the English language courses. This is someone who's here in New Zealand. I've known her for a couple of decades. We used to work together, teaching together many, many years ago when I've had little kids and all that sort of thing. So I'm really excited that she's coming on board next year. I won't say just yet, but certainly from January you'll hear all about it, because we're going to shout from the rooftops that we have this wonderful expertise coming on board. So she will focus on English language teaching side of things, because that is her expertise. So we're going to let her do her thing. So she'll help us figure out, what are the other courses that we need to build that we don't have yet on the site. She's also going to work with authors, external authors, getting some more on board, as well as our internal authors to get the courses developed, and she'll help edit them, and then of course we'll develop them and publish them. So she will be focusing just on getting really high quality English language teaching training out there. And she's also going to help me with the podcast. So from probably about February, we're going to have a little bit of a break during the summer period now. But from February next year, we will launch a season 3, and we will focus it on English language teaching. We've so far in season 1 and season 2, we've kind of gone all over the place, and I've just kind of chit-chatted about learning a bit of Maori. We learned a bit of Spanish here and there, and all sorts of things, stories, interviewed different people for lots of different topics. But we're going to focus a little bit more going forward, and she will be a co-host on the podcast. I'm super excited about that. That means our listeners will get the benefit of her years and years and years of English language teacher training all around the world. She literally has been to many, many different countries. So we'll certainly have a couple of intro podcasts, no doubt, where we talk about her experience and what she's done. And, you know, she's got a lot of stories to tell. She's a wonderful person. So that's super exciting. That's coming, as I say, early 2019. So season 3 will be different. We'll refocus it. We'll probably give it a bit more of a focused title as well. And what else have we got going on? That's the biggest thing that I have written down here, that we're just focusing podcasts, and the courses will kind of take off as well now that we've got another person on board to put all her energies on that. So if you are a really experienced English language teacher and you happen to be listening to this podcast, right, it's kind of nowish, and you're interested in doing some course writing, get in touch with us, because we are looking for new authors. We're looking for new authors going forward, because we'll be able to coordinate their efforts better and get that, you know, moving quite quickly. Get in touch and tell us the kind of things that you'd love to design a course about, and we'll add that to our library if it's something that seems to fit in terms of where our gaps are at the moment in terms of content. If you are a English language teacher just starting out in your career and you're kind of trying to find your feet, trying to find, you know, how can I stay up to date? Perhaps you've just finished CELTA or the Trinity course, whichever introductory kind of qualification, and you're like, oh my gosh, my head is totally full with all that information, and you might forget it, or, you know, how do you kind of keep in touch? Well, this is the Language Field ELT Training Library is exactly designed for you. So we can help you remember all the things that you learned in your initial training course, and then take you that next step further, learning some of the latest technologies, going a little bit deeper into some of the topics that you may have only covered on a surface level during your initial training. So, you know, if that's you, hop on over to languagefield.com/memberships, I think, and there you'll find how to get access to our training library. As I said, the first 14 days are on us, completely free. If it's not for you during that time, no questions asked, just cancel your subscription, you're totally fine. But you might find that, oh my goodness, it's exactly what you've been looking for, that support ongoing after your initial training, and then moving forward into the early years of your career and beyond. Some of the courses that we've got are quite deep and technical. One of the things we'll be doing next year as part of this new staff member coming on board is kind of categorizing them a little bit better in their descriptions to say which ones are more at the basic level, which ones are more in-depth, because at the moment they're kind of all over the place. So in any case, if you are an earlier or mid-stage career, this is, you know, we're designing this training library for you to support you in your journey as a English language teacher. And if you are a self-directed language learner, perhaps you're an adult going, you know what, I want to learn the language X, don't really know how to go about it. I bought a book, maybe, teach myself Swahili, whatever the language is, but it's a little bit confusing, don't understand the concepts, you know, nouns, verbs, all that, and going, how on earth, what does it even mean? How do I practice this? How do I memorize this kind of stuff? Then our other training library is for you. That is the language learning training library. So that's langlearn.training.languagefield.com. You'll find that all in our main website, languagefield.com. You can navigate your way around that. So that is pretty much it for today. Just wanted to have a quick background of what we've done in 2018, some of the cool things that we've been able to get established, and then looking forward to 2019, we're just taking them a little bit further, so we're quite excited about that. Wishing you a super Merry Christmas and a fantastic start to 2019. Please do get in touch if you have any questions or if there's other ideas you have for us. We always love to hear from you. So don't be a stranger, and I look forward to bringing you Season 3 in 2019. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Language Fuel podcast. You can see more at www.languagefuel.com/podcast, or you can see us on YouTube at youtube.com/languagefuel.